with you guys. I want you guys to just kind of visualize this in your head. You're walking down the street in downtown Pomona. You come up to an intersection. You're waiting there to cross the street. And up next to you pulls like a tricked out diesel truck. It has stacks on it and everything. The guy revs the engine. It sounds really loud. When you go to cross the street, the first thing he does when he sees the green light is nail the gas, and all he sees is all this black smoke come out of it. You guys ever think and wonder how bad is that for us? My main claim is that diesel engines are more harmful to the environment and our lives than gasoline engines. Secondary claim, diesel engines tend to pollute more than gasoline engines just because of their style and everything. When you analyze diesel exhaust, it actually has 40 more dangerous chemicals to our bodies than standard automobile. Diesel engines tend also to emit more things out of them than gasoline. One of the major ones is soot. Soot is really dangerous for us to breathe in, and also has a great impact on the environment itself. It also emits up to 4 times more carbon dioxide than the standard gasoline engine per gallon burned, which is horrible for us. Another thing, if you look at the EPA, and this is from Environmental Defense Fund, the EPA has very few smog laws in effect right now for actual diesel engines. Newer ones, they're slowly coming out with more, but on the contrary, the older ones, they don't have anything in place right now. Basically, any black smoke you see coming out of older diesel trucks is just the way it's going to be, unfortunately, unless someone changes something. Also, the reason why diesels tend to pollute more than gasoline is diesels, there's actually different kinds of diesels. There's on-road and off-road. Most people see the on-road ones as big trucks, and you can see that black smoke, and you can see what the effect is. But the off-road ones, like tractors, locomotives, boats, those are still polluting out there as well, and those are still causing just as bad effects on the environment. The next claim is diesel pollution has a higher impact on our environment than gasoline. One of the major products of diesel pollution is the soot that the diesels emit. If you look at a diesel exhaust, you notice that it's always black and just looks horrible. That soot actually is really micro, tiny particles, and that goes into our atmosphere. Once it hits the atmosphere, it actually can radiate heat, which can raise the atmospheric temperature, which makes the climate can get warmer, like global warming, other global causes. Also, like I said earlier, diesel pollution only can get worse over time because of the type of engine, how as the engine breaks down over time, it starts emitting more, just like a typical gasoline engine. Next is diesel. Fuel itself, since it's a byproduct, actually requires more energy and oil to make than your typical gasoline fuel. And when diesel fuel is actually made, it actually emits more harmful gases and more heat into our environment, into our atmosphere, than gasoline. My final claim here is a diesel engine has a higher effect on the average person's health compared to gasoline engines. The first one is studies have shown that breathing in diesel soot can cause any sort of illnesses from simple coughing to asthma to heart attacks. Many states actually have records of diesel-induced heart attacks as well. Unfortunately, I forgot to print that one out. In most statistics, diesel pollution has caused nearly 500 premature deaths due to chemicals breathed from diesel exhaust in every state. A good example is in 2003, a program director for the Port of Oakland in California here, they did research on diesel pollution from the boats and trucks from the shipyards on houses in West Oakland and East Oakland to see exactly how high the carbon levels were from the soot. In West Oakland, they found that the black carbon levels were up to 5 times higher than those in East Oakland. So obviously when you're breathing that stuff in, it just makes everything horrible. Basically, I run out of time here. I run out of stuff.
All right, well, the statement of your proposition is pretty clear, and you signpost it well. There's not really a preview of what the contents are going to be, but internally you do signpost the supporting points pretty clearly. You've got a lot of information, and I think that part of the problem in the argument is that sometimes we're getting information that we need to have background on the subject. Sometimes there's information that we could draw an inference from, and there could be an argument there. And sometimes information just gets plugged in, and I'm not exactly sure what to do with it. You need to build this argument a little bit more effectively. The first point is pretty straightforward. I think your argument ought to say that diesel exhaust is dangerous. And again, you probably wouldn't expect much dispute on that in the levels that it's given. The second point ought to be something about how there's a significant lack of regulation of diesel exhaust, and maybe something about how that lack of regulation creates a quantifiable impact. And the third point might show how a regulation could change that. Then I think you've got an argument. Otherwise, you're just kind of describing the effects of diesel on the atmosphere, on the health environment. I doubt anybody thinks that diesel is healthy. Now, the one thing that might be questionable is what impact it has in total on the environment. For instance, of all of the health effects of pollution, is there a percentage of it that's quantifiable to diesel, and as a consequence to the fact that diesel is largely unregulated? I think you need a little bit more background information also on the lack of regulation of diesel fumes, production, and exhaust, so that it's clear that that's something that's going to be a part of the argument. And like I said, if there's an alternative to this, you ought to be telling us how it would work and how it would change or produce a different result. Otherwise, we're running into some of the same problems. Otherwise, you're just describing something on which there's no controversy, just something that's unpleasant, which, again, I think a lot of people would say, yeah, that's true.